What is good, Counter-Strike fans? Welcome back to another episode of my HLTV Fantasy. Today, we're talking about Stage 2 of the StarLadder Budapest Major 2025. Last event, we got the video out with 6 hours to go. Now we're going to get the video out with around 7 hours to go before the second stage starts. So, doing a little bit better on timing. Yeah, but enough about that. Let's talk about how we did in Stage 1. For my fantasy, top 31%, just missed out on top 30, which will give us an extra 2 points for my fall season standings. Paravision players did well enough. I mean, James and Noda, they got through on the last game to the next stage. Blame F did really well with 101 points, and Cello did fine enough for his prize. But the big disappointment was Brokey. Looked really poor. FaZe looked poor in general. They got through because they're FaZe, but Brokey looked really poor alongside Jacob. And when you have Kerrigan, out fragging and out rating Brokey and Jacob, you're in a bad spot as a team. But yeah, Brokey did not look great, so he really disappointed me. The players that did well were the FlyQuest boys, Eskapersky from NIP, who I did mention in the last stage, who was one of the best value for money players. I should have just gone for him. Blake and Swisher as well from M80, and then Kenzie Sor from Bait. And how we did with my PickEms, got my 3-0 wrong. So that wasn't looking great, but I did get my Rare Atom pick right for the 0-3. NRG surprised us and won both their BO1s, but then they lost all 3 of their BO3s, so expected. So there was technically a 0-3 elimination, I think. And then finally, Bait, Paravision, Fnatic, and NIP, they go through and save my pick'em. So they get 5 right, and we're still in the hunt for a diamond coin. I also did get right FaZe to go through and M80 to go through, and Legacy and Gamer Legion were my only 2 misses, with Imperial and I believe FlyQuest going through there. For this stage, this is an infographic of what some of the most popular CS people in the CS community are picking, and as you can see, it's all over the place. People are not sure what their 0-3-0 pick. They're not sure about their 0-3 pick either. And then in general, like who's gonna advance, kind of all over the place. I think this is probably the toughest stage to predict. I think stage 3 will be a lot easier. So if you get past this, you do have a better chance at stage 3. So you gotta be a little bit careful. Take your time when making your picks. But again, it's so random with best of ones that, in general, like I think, yeah, it's gonna be tough to get a diamond coin, but we'll try to do our best here as well. And now to make our picks. So for the 3-0, who are the candidates for that? I think the candidates have to be Aurora, Liquid, and Navi. They are the teams with the highest pedigree, and they also have the best as well seeding for this stage. So they should get some of the easier matchups. Aurora does get a tough match against M80 in the first round, because it's not reverse seeding, so it's not 1 versus 16. It's actually 1 versus number 9, and so on. So M8 Aurora does have a tough matchup there. Liquid has to face, I believe, who they face? They face Bait. So again, another tough matchup, and Navi has to face FlyQuest. So BO1s, anything can happen, but yeah, I think the 3 favorites do have a little bit of tough matchups. I think Navi has the easier one, and then Aurora probably is better than M80, and then Liquid could lose against Bait. But yeah, I think these 3 are the 3-0 favorites. What some people are doing is picking some of the outside shot teams, so teams that they believe they outadvance, but they don't have that strong feelings about. So for example, like 3D Max or Bait as 3-0s, and then putting like Aurora, Liquid, and Navi as advancing teams. So hoping that these 3 like lose like one BO1 or BO3 somewhere along the lines, when they advance, and so you at least have three or like one that you don't go 0-2 when you have a 3-0 team, and a 3-1 advancing team. So let's say Aurora and Bait. If Bait go 3-0 and Aurora go advanced, then you already have two wrong options, and that removes the amount of teams you can, the amount of correct options you can have. But here in this channel, I want to try to get as many correct as possible. But yeah, we'll start with Aurora. I think Aurora will go 3-0 alongside Navi. In other simulations, I do have them facing each other in the 2-0 game, but I believe that my simulations will be wrong, and I believe there will be a couple upsets that will allow us not to have this matchup be one of the 2-0. That's why Liquid, sometimes you see Liquid alongside Aurora or Navi, because sometimes the simulations, get you an Aurora Navi 2-0 matchup. So I'll have both of them in there. I think they're the two strongest teams in this stage. And while Aurora has the tougher BO1s, they'll have an easier BO3 once if they do get to that stage. They do have an easier BO3 when they get the 2-0 game, and then Navi will have the easier BO1s. And then once they get to 2-0, they'll have the tougher BO3. But I still believe these two are the two strongest teams. I'll go with them to be the 3-0 advancing teams. And then for 0-3, the options are Imperial, MIBR, and Tyloo with an outside chance. Actually, no. Imperial, MIBR, Tyloo, Passion UA, and an outside chance of Fnatic as well as an 0-3. The tough part about this is that Imperial and MIBR, who I believe are the two weakest teams, they do face each other in the first match. So either one, if they win, they basically ruin your 0-3 pick. You can go with both of them, and you'll hedge, and then you'll get at least one correct, because I don't expect either of them to win much if they do lose that first game. So you can hedge there. But again, like in this channel, we try to go for as many as possible. I'm not trying to get Diamond Cloud. I'm trying to get the most correct, so I can base my fantasy decisions on that. And so for that reason, I'll have MIBR be the 0-3 team. I think Imperial are a little bit warmed up. They're more used to the stage, and they have a couple games already in them, while me and MIBR, they're doing the Furia Light, basically getting CIS players alongside their Brazilian core. It's just not going to work in my opinion. And yeah, I think MIBR will be one of the 0-3 teams, and also pull in Tyloo. If Yam Young's not popping off, then I don't expect that team to do well in this stage. And then for the advancing teams, I'll have Liquid. That's a pretty easy one. I think Astralis will also go through with the pedigree that they have. They should go through, but it's Astralis, and this is their first major in a while, so you never know with them. I'll also have NIP. I was very impressed by them. I like their team, especially for BO1s. They have enough firepower there. M80 as well, impressed by them in stage 1. Now keep backing these two teams as well. And then for the final two spots, the options are 3D Max, Bait, FaZe, Paravision, and FlyQuest. And honestly, I think FaZe, I don't know how they'll do it. I don't know whether it takes a couple games of Twist and Frozen again to carry them to the next stage, but I can see them going through. I don't know why, but it's FaZe, and FaZe always does these type of things in the major. They'll never make it easy, and again, they won't make it easy this time, but I believe they'll get through. And then for my last spot, FlyQuest have looked better as a team, but do they have enough firepower for them to get past this? I'm not sure. Bait is kind of the same thing as well. Team base, 3D Max team base team. Paravision will go like a team base team with like firepower, but also not a lot of experience. So I'll go with 3D Max. I think they are the most used team. They have a lot of experience going against these type of teams, and while they don't get the highest ratings and they don't blow teams away, they always pull through somehow. I think 3D Max with their seeding should get a little bit of the easier matchup, so I'll have 3D Max as my final as my final advancing team. And yeah, let's take a look at the most picked players really quickly. So Alex B from Navi is getting picked about like high 20%, closer to 30 almost, alongside with Bit. Eskapersky from NIP, Centaurus and Major from Aurora, James from Paravision, Twist from FaZe, and then Lake from M80. So as you can see, Navi and Aurora players are getting picked the most, but it's still not really like a consensus like picks, honestly. And you can go very differential on this stage with how open it is. So let's gonna go quick breakdown of the teams and the players. So for Aurora, my favorite pick has to be Centaurus. I think he's the only one that's actually worth the price. The rest of them are kind of a little bit overpriced. And I think Centaurus has the upside and the pedigree to pop off, and he should be the best player on this stage. And Aurora should be one of the favorites to go 3-0. So I like Centaurus there. He is a little bit overpriced as well. But if you want to go with Aurora, go with Centaurus. Would completely ignore Jota and will ignore Major at those prices. Between Woxic and Wicadia, I'd rather go with Wicadia with the consistency, because Woxic, while he does have a higher upside, he just hasn't shown it recently. For Navi, Alexi B is not bad at 183. If you want to go there for a cheap player, I don't mind Alexi, especially if he gets carried by Navi throughout this stage. Otherwise, between the 4 gold players, Bit is your most consistent, but he is the most priced, but he also has a great headshot percentage role. So if you want to go with consistency and, like you want to go with something that for sure will occur, Bit for sure will be one or two best players from Navi. Will he be worth the price? I don't know. But then if you want to go somewhere else, MS, I would say my second best choice. And the price is a little bit more manageable. Between Wonderful and Mikase, I think Wonderful, you have to go with him just because he's cheaper. Mikase, while he has shown high upside, he's also showed high downside, and he's again a rookie in this team. So I wouldn't trust him at 220, and I'd rather go with Bit at that price. But yeah, Navi is kind of like a little bit overpriced. All 4 players could pop off, and they could all like basically share the rating match to match. For Astralis, it has to be Stair, Jabi, or Device, but I think they're all overpriced. But I have to go with someone here. Stair, Magix, and Hooksy are for sure overpriced, so don't go there. 3 max. When Maka is your highest rated player at 1.03 rating, which is the lowest, highest rated player in this stage, it's not looking great. I think even the whole major. So 3 max, while I do believe they'll go through, they just play a very team-based Counter-Strike where no one really pops off and they don't really blow teams away. So yeah, wouldn't go with any 3D max players, honestly. FaZe Clan, would not go Kerrigan, would not go Brokey or Jacob. Brokey is enticing with 200,000, but he showed me last stage that he's not back to himself, and he's probably gonna get kicked off out of this FaZe team. Even if FaZe go on to win the major, there's no way you can keep Brokey. And Jacob, it should have been Rain here. Jacob is still too raw of a player to be like at a team like FaZe. So for FaZe, it has to be Frozen or Twist, and Twist again will be my favorite option. He's actually really reasonably priced, and for FaZe to get through, Twist will have to pop off. So if you believe in FaZe, definitely pick Twist. Liquid. Well, Liquid did trade Twist for a Leech, and Leech is performing worse than Twist. I think the team as a whole has looked a lot better. I think Leech does give that space that Twist didn't, so it allows for the overall team to be better. I think ever since Leech has come back to Liquid, Nav has looked back to normal. He's putting up the best ratings out of the team. So Nav will be my favorite option from Liquid. If you want to pair him up with someone else, I will look into Ultimate or spend up into a Leech. I would ignore Nerds because he hasn't looked the same. He's still looking a little bit lost in his roles with Liquid. And then Shuhei, not great, honestly, at 184. He's not bad, but he's not gonna like carry you, basically. For Passion UA, is the complexity core with Quem and Nyx. But again, if you want to go Passion UI, you have to go Grim and then pair them up with Halserk. I think these two are probably their only hope of getting past this stage. But yeah, they results wise recently they haven't looked great. For Bait, again, another team that is more of a team-based Counter-Strike. Again, they'll on a game-to-game basis, you don't know who's gonna pop off. I would still pick Hetrick because he has the highest upside, but he hasn't looked the best so far recently. And Nipple, if you want to go with more consistency but a higher price. But yeah, I will take my choice with the under 200,000 players. For M80, I do like this roster, and I like the prices as well. Swisher and Lake would be my preferred double up, but you can also go with Slacks as a differential from M80. With Tyloo, it's Yamyoung or nothing. Otherwise, I don't see Tyloo going far in this stage. Fnatic, again, you have to pick into BlameF if you believe in Fnatic, because I think he can put up the highest rating, and he will put up the highest rating for Fnatic. But I just don't see how Fnatic go past this stage. I still don't think they look good in general. I think sometimes they need to get bailed out by an insane round for them to get through, and I just don't think they'll get past this stage. But yeah, BlameF, and then you can pair them up with Crims or Jambo. Would not go Fear or Jacasmo, they just haven't looked good enough yet. FlyQuest, another team that, again, I'm betting against FlyQuest, but they could get through. They look really strong. A lot of the analysts have liked what they saw from FlyQuest. If you want to go here, definitely look into JKS, Backside, or Nedic. For NIP, a team that I like the players. I like the IGL. I think they're a great value as well. Ujurx is the best. I mean, not Ujurx. Kaspersky is the best value for money player by far and away. So if you just want to go with the one-off, get Kaspersky. If you want to pair him up, I will look into Snappy, so you can get some of the better players from other teams. Because he's really cheap and he has a great role as well, and he actually did quite well in stage 1. Or Ujurx as well. He's again another cheap player, and he does decently as well. Or if you want to go differential, Shoes or Renko, I would prefer Renko, just because he has the higher upside. MIBR would not go here. I mean, they're doing a Fury at light with Kicker and Klim, but it's just not gonna work in my opinion. I just don't see it. But if you want to go MIBR, and Sunny is your option there. Perry Vision. I'm a believer in James, but I think this will be a step too far for this team. They're still a little bit too young, and while they have won some very close maps and they've shown resiliency, I think they also shown weakness in certain other maps as well, and they shown that they can't be destroyed in the map, but they do have good mentality. I think they'll have a great future, but I just don't expect them to get through to the stage. But if you want to go here, they're also amazing value for money as well. Like all 5 players are. I would focus on Noda and Cello, but also James as well. One of these really good players as well. He has Op role, and then he has the Saber role as well that trigger a really high rate. And then finally Imperial. We did pick into them last stage. This stage I would not pick into them, but if you are interested, Cello or Beanie, or no wait, honestly any of the bronze players, I would go into Imperial. But yeah, again, I just don't expect it to get through this stage either. So with all that in mind, the players that I will be picking into are gonna be, I'm gonna go with this team. So this team is based on Snappy. So Snappy will be my cheap player from an IP, and then Kaspersky, who's the best value for money player in the whole game. So I'll go with those two from an IP, because I think they'll go through. And that allows me to afford Centaurus, who's going to be very strong. And Aurora have a great chance to go 3-0 quite easily. He might not be worth the price, but I think he gives me the consistency that I want from a gold player, especially if he's so pricey, so high. and then Twist as well, who if Phase were to go through, it's because Twist basically carry them. And with the rest of the money, I decided to go Swisher because he's the best value for money with the rest of the money that I had. But yeah, again, I'm going with a low and high team where I'm going with the bronze player that allows me to get 2 solid gold players, and then filling up the rest with some other teams that I believe will go through. If you want to look into another team, if you don't feel comfortable with Twist or Snappy, I would just remove them. I would go with Naf and then U-Jerks. So I like this team as well. It's more well-rounded, and we have, less of a chance of, Twist, bringing you down or Snappy bringing you down. I think all 5 players can put up good ratings as well. So I think it's another team that I'm looking into, but for now, I will go with this team. So yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, and yeah, good luck, have fun, and see you for the next stage.